Thanks so much for waiting and for coming to our career panel, Careers in Social Transformation. I am Erika. I am the internship coordinator for the School of Social Transformation. Today we have some really great employers from several fields of work. First of all, let me introduce you to them. We have here Arayah, Larson from Foster Ed, Arizona. Also with us is Sophie Etchart from Read Better, Be Better. We also have Alvaro Gonzalez from the Florence Immigrant and Refugee Rights Project. We also have Marcella from Fresh Start Women's Foundation. Connie Tsang from Desert Developmental Services. And we will have Cynthia Diaz from the American Civil Liberties Union pretty shortly. So welcome, and here we also have my colleague Lilia Zacchia from Career Services.
Hello, so I'm just going to go over kind of the questions that our panelists are going to go over. They're going to have about like 7 to 8 minutes to go through these 4 questions. So they're going to start by describing who they are, their current position, as well as their overall professional background. And then they're going to kind of go into detail regarding what their job is, some rewarding and also challenging aspects of their jobs, and regarding those challenges, how they utilize critical thinking to solve those challenges. They're also going to go into various entry-level positions or internship opportunities that might be available at their organizations. And then in general, the last thing they're going to describe is what general advice they may have for students regarding social media or burning bridges. So those are kind of the things that our panelists are going to cover. So Arayah, if you want to get started.
Sure. Okay, I'll go first. So I'm Arayah Larson. I'm the Associate Director of Community Engagement for Foster Ed Arizona, and that is sort of a conglomerate title for a lot of different things I do. If you go into nonprofit work of any kind and you work at a small nonprofit, you start to kind of wear a lot of hats. I serve as the sort of communications director and the volunteer manager. So if anybody's interested in like volunteer program work or communications work, I'd be happy to talk to you about that. I come from a background of political organizing and community organizing. So if anybody's like volunteered on any campaigns, like you're my people. That led me into working with Foster Ed because they needed a volunteer coordinator. So if you're not keeping your minds open to what your skills are and how they might apply to a setting that maybe isn't what you studied, you should. I didn't study social work. I've never worked with foster kids in direct service myself, but they still needed somebody with my services to work in their nonprofit. Rewarding and challenging aspects of my job, I love working with volunteers. So that work led me to wherever. I would have taken that work wherever. I'm lucky that I get to do it for the benefit of kids and for a cause that I feel really strongly about. But that's the work that I love. And I think the most challenging aspect of my job, and I think of a lot of jobs, is really just being on a team, being a team member and listening to other people's experiences and voices and expertise, even when it clashes with your own. I do that a lot with volunteers. I've got older people, really experienced people who come in and want to do things very differently, and honoring their experience while telling them to do it a little differently can be a tricky thing, but it's a skill worth learning. We don't have any entry-level jobs or internships at my organization, but hold on, keep listening. If you're still a student, I highly recommend volunteering with organizations that you're interested in or organizations that are even close to what you're interested in. Even if you don't end up getting a job there someday after graduation, having experience that you can talk about in an interview or to add to your resume that doesn't cost you a whole summer, or living very, very cheaply on a stipend, can be massively valuable. So I'm all about volunteering. If anybody's interested in volunteering with us, I have tons of brochures and stuff, but really volunteer with anything that's related to what you're interested in. We have volunteers who are interested in going into children's law and education and social work, all kinds of stuff, and they want that experience with the kids to make sure they're going into the right field before they, take the LSATs or something scary like that. So there's always some good fit out there, and it can make the difference in the hiring room. Last, general advice I would offer you, I don't know. That's a really hard one. Learn how to improvise and talk about your program, your interests, your drive, whatever it is that you're going out and putting out in the world. Learn how to talk about it well, and learn how to convince other people to be on your side. Because even once you get the job, that's not even half the battle, right? And then you gotta be the best at the job, and you gotta take care of yourself, and you gotta convince your teammates to go the way you think that your program needs to go. So get good on your feet, I guess, ironically. I think I went fast, but I'm good.
I'm Sophie Etchart. I'm the founder and chief executive of Read Better, Be Better. What we do is we inspire and equip middle schoolers to implement a third grade reading comprehension curriculum with struggling third grade readers. So founded in direct response to the Move On When reading legislation that came in eventually came in 2015, I think. So being the founder, there's it's a little bit of a different beast. It probably is important to say I spent 7 months trying to find someone else doing it. So it wasn't like I had a dream to found an organization. I tried really hard not to be honest. So it's come with challenges, and I think what is extraordinary is that we found that so I initially agreed to a pilot, which became a program, which became an organization. So the pilot was showing that students who receive this programming, Read Better, Be Better, and classroom instruction will outperform the control group by 30%, which is pretty compelling data for that sector. So what that meant is that we then grew. So we went from one pilot site in 2015 to 36 program sites this year, from a $25,000 budget to a $1.1 million budget. So my position was the same. I did all of the jobs, and then I sort of do less and less of the jobs, but kind of still all of them. So it's been an evolution. So difficult to kind of tie it back, but you have to be prepared to be flexible along that journey, I think, is probably the biggest piece. My educational background was languages, so I would corroborate that. I learned French, German, and Spanish. I don't really use, I use Spanish in my job a lot, but I really would rather have more translators on my team. Would be awesome. So I said the rewarding is, I was trying to find a sustainable solution to what I consider to be a social justice issue. We, as an organization, have, one solution to that problem, and we have been able to grow it, and that is incredibly rewarding. The challenges are that I now have a team of 50 people, so you've got 50 people who care very deeply about an issue, and people who care very deeply are a huge asset to an organization. But, it's tiring caring this much, so I think we can be quite hard to deal with at times. And now there's a lot of us, so I manage a team, and that's what I spend a lot of my time doing if I'm not raising money. Various entry-level jobs. We have constant entry-level jobs. So we hire incessantly all the time. With that team of 50, about 35 of those are site leader positions. So they are either 5 or 10 hours a week, and we ask for a semester or a year commitment. And that's the people who are on site in the field running the program. A lot of those guys are student teachers, but we also take students from other majors, people who are interested in social justice and education as a sort of tool to achieve social justice. So we're always hiring that position. It is a part-time position, but we also have a data manager position that's not strictly speaking entry level, but we could be flexible, and a fundraising coordinator, which absolutely is an entry-level position. So we have a ton of part-time and full-time. You can take my card, and you can also check out our website, which has them all on there. For internships, we have a wonderful AmeriCorps intern at the back, so she's probably the best person to talk to. We're not a big enough organization to use an intern anything other than a member of staff, so everybody starts as a generalist. You're part of the team, you have the same outcomes as the rest of the team has, you're part of that growth and that, success-driven mission, and you work really, really hard, but you share the same benefits as everybody else does. And then what we usually do is we will then, depending to ensure that there's a mutual benefit, the internships are unpaid. We will specialize you on wherever you want to specialize. So whether it's that you have experience in something and want to get more experience in that, or that you have experience in something and want to get experience in something else, we kind of have enough jobs going on that we can usually design an end-to-end project that will meet those needs. But definitely talk to Brianna if you're interested in interning. And what general advice I would say, I think, and I always say this is, care really deeply, be really passionate about what you do, but you do have to be prepared to be flexible at the same time, because again, I would definitely agree. I think that you never know what you're going to learn. So the growth mindset, you'll never know what you're going to learn. So even if you end up not being passionate about third grade literacy, which is impossible, by the way, but if you didn't, you would definitely have learned something. But you have to be open to that opportunity and flexible within that role, because the more flexible you are, and the more that we see that you're willing to learn and willing to grow and willing to kind of take on different projects, you'll just get given more and more and more stuff to do. And which sounds maybe like it's bad. It's good if you want to learn, like you want to do more things and you want to have more accountability and more responsibility and be part of the bigger picture. So I think being flexible is really, really important. Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Hi, my name is Alvaro. I am the volunteer coordinator for the Florence Immigrant Refugee Rights Project. So a little bit about me. I actually just graduated this past December from Benedictine University in Mesa, and I double majored in political science and Spanish. So I am relatively new to this kind of career world, but it has been, the Florence Project has really opened its arms and really helped me grow. So the reason why after graduation I started looking for jobs in this, because I have DACA myself, so for long part in my life I was undocumented, and it was always difficult, so I always knew that I always wanted to work with these type of vulnerable communities, and so I did, and this position of mine, volunteer coordinator, is actually new to the program. So we are the only legal and social service providers that provide free services to men, women, and children detained here in Arizona, and we have gotten a lot of inquiries about how people can get involved. You can imagine, especially during this past summer, during family separation, we were overwhelmed by it, and that's why this position of mine was created. So I'm going to just fast forward super quick, but so our volunteer program is in its developing. I have my business cards here, so in a couple months, feel free to reach out to me, and we're going to have something called Create. We already have some sort of idea of how we're heading with it. But yeah, so some probably rewarding and challenging aspects of my job is, one is this position of mine is new, so that's a plus and that's a minus, because I feel like the way our education system and the way that I've just kind of always seen is you're just kind of always told to do something and then you kind of just do it. So just kind of starting something fresh is a little bit difficult, because there's really no guidance on of it, and it's just really on you. So that's been difficult, trying to see what's going to work out and what's not going to work out. And just the fact that there was nobody here before me that could tell me this is maybe what has worked before, this is what hasn't worked before, has been difficult. But rewarding is just the work that we do at the Florence Project. Knowing that we're the only organization that provides these kind of free services to individuals makes you feel really good about your work. The environment in our office is amazing. Everybody that works there is really dedicated to the work that we do. And when we hear stories of individuals that are released from detention, of children or of men or women, it really brings us joy, and it really makes us feel that we're making a difference, especially in the current times that we're in. So problems, a lot of the problem solving that we've been having to use, me and my supervisor, is just trying to outline things that are going to work out, and also meeting with other organizations. Don't be afraid to ask help, and look out to perhaps other organizations that do have some sort of programs, or maybe just you yourself. See what others are doing that works for them, and how you can implement them in your life and in your project. So that's what we're doing, and that's how we've been trying to build up this and problem solve a lot of issues that we foresee coming. Also, just always thinking about the worst case scenario. We've always been going back to this family separation and being overwhelmed by all the requests that we had from volunteers, and people just wanting to help. So every time we present an idea, we always think about the worst possible scenario, so we can be prepared for those situations. Because if you have a worst case scenario planned out already, then everything else is just going to flow pretty well. So various jobs and internships that we have available. So we do have actually some current openings with our legal team. Legal assistants in the Phoenix office, in the Tucson office, and in the Florence office, all three offices. Phoenix and Tucson are mainly children's team, and the Florence is adult team. But as some of you guys may know, absolutely nobody lives in Florence. It's just a prison town. So a lot of those individuals commute, either live in Phoenix or in Tucson. That's an opening. So if you guys have questions about that, those job listings are posted on our website, and I do have more information on them if you guys would like to know about them. And internships, currently we only have internships open for students that are law school students. However, my vision with the volunteer program is we're going to have volunteers at a perhaps 2-month, 3-month commitment. And that's especially why I'm here and why I want to present to you guys, because we are looking for individuals that do believe in our work and that do support our work. So yeah, and just general advice, I know I just kind of started this, and when I graduated college, I was very overwhelmed not knowing what I was going to do with my life. But just always you being active in search of that, because nothing's going to come to you if you're just sitting there. So just always try to be active in your professional and educational life. And also try to get volunteer internships with different organizations, because it really builds your resume and it really gives you experience. I interned with Kirsten Cinema, and I also interned at the ACLU of Arizona, and I feel like those are really resume builders for people. So always just kind of be actively working on your resume and actively looking for things that you can do to better yourself as an individual. And just always be open to things. Don't say, I'm just looking for this, because you never know. Maybe if you're just looking for this, you never know what something else is going to be that you may enjoy. This volunteer coordinator never even crossed my mind that I would be doing. But it's something that I feel it kind of takes you a step back and really makes you, in my case, really makes you see the whole Florence project and what we do as a whole, with the development side, with the legal side, with the social work side, and just kind of really gives me a hands-on experience to see maybe I want to pursue a career in law or social work, what it may be. So just always keep an open mind to those kinds of things.
Awesome. Hi everyone, my name is Marcella Columbus. I am the volunteer and outreach coordinator for Fresh Start Women's Foundation. I received my bachelor's degree in music performance, so nothing in the nonprofit sector really. Orchestras are nonprofits, but that's another thing. And then I got my master's in public administration and nonprofit management, mostly because I didn't know what I was going to do with my life. And I love what I do. I love my role at Fresh Start. I've been in it now for 3 years this month, so going strong. And the most rewarding thing, kind of going back to what's already been said, is the volunteers. I absolutely love working with the people who want to be doing the good works. Fresh Start is a women's resource center, so we provide education and support for adult women. And I wouldn't say that's my passion. My passion is music, but the work that we do is really, really good. And working with the people who are overly passionate about it makes it all worthwhile for me. On the flip side of that, the challenge would probably also be the volunteers, because they all want to do something amazing, and I love them all so much for that. But they don't know what nonprofits need a lot of the times. They think they know, and then they say, let's do this project and bring your women up to Flagstaff to see the snow with their families, which is a beautiful idea and it sounds amazing, but to put into practice with our budget and with our constraints and with our liabilities is not always realistic. So reframing what they want to do and having it be something that will actually add value to our agency and to the work that we are already committed to, that our board has approved and our executive director has approved, is a whole different thing. The other challenges are just working with other communication styles and getting siloed into my little box where I don't interact with our clients ever, and so I don't think about them as often as I should. And so having to reach out back out and say, like, what are we actually doing? Who are the women that we're serving, and why does it matter? So getting back into that and knowing what's going on in other parts of the building with our development team and with our programs team is really important. Whew. What are various entry-level jobs or internships? So right now we don't have any openings at Fresh Start for jobs, but we are always looking for interns to either help with our programs team or at our front desk, where you're kind of the front lines. You interact with every single woman who comes in. You really get that hands-on experience. In general, in the nonprofit sector, I think most people on this panel would agree, entry-level jobs, if you're starting to look for a job, is something that'll say associate, specialist, or coordinator. Those are most likely going to be closest to entry level. Once you start to get into that manager range, they expect a good amount of job experience already. And then my general advice is to really make sure you know how to explain your skill set, because you might not have ever worked with volunteers directly and created an onboarding process and run a volunteer orientation, but maybe you've worked with them in some other capacity, and if that's what you want to do, make sure you know how to explain that. And just build up your leadership experience in essentially any way you can. Work on your communication, avoid phrases and words that limit your knowledge and your assertiveness, like and then really make sure that you are ready for admin work, because you can take all the classes, know all the theories, and know generally how things happen, but inevitably when you're working in a nonprofit or in any agency, you are going to have to sit at a desk and run an Excel spreadsheet and track data and do it accurately. And it's not the sexiest part of the job, but it is so important. So really make sure you know how to use Excel, because it will likely be your best friend. That's my advice.
Hello everyone, my name is Connie Tsang. I was born and raised here in Phoenix, Arizona, so naturally I went to Arizona State for my undergrad in speech and hearing sciences. Then I went on to get my MBA from Grand Canyon University, and I am currently a PhD student studying general psychology with an emphasis in cognition and instruction. I have been a pediatric speech therapist for the last 4 years, and I also am the founder and CEO of a special needs agency here in Arizona called Developmental Services. We offer services to individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities. We have services such as habilitation, respite, and attendant care. We are contracted with the Division of Developmental Disabilities and also the Department of Economic Security of Arizona. And our main goal and mission for our company is to help our clients gain their highest level of independence and also their highest level of life potential as well. Some of the rewarding and challenges of my job, let's see. I will start out with some challenging aspects. There are definitely a lot. Initially, starting the special needs agency, I had to go through a bunch of different procedures that are state procedures in order to get my contract through and in order to provide these services. And also, I would say that, you know, it took me about 1.5 to 2 years to get pretty much everything running from the initial start that I decided that I wanted to create an agency. And then I would say that one of the most rewarding things is being able to, you know that our agency is cultivating, you know, change and an inclusive community for the special needs community here in Arizona. And also, like I said, just cultivating and facilitating change within the special needs agency and special needs world. Because unfortunately, I've worked in the special needs industry long enough to have witnessed some of the inequalities and some of the just unethical behaviors that some of the other agencies are doing. So we vow as a company to be able to change all of that and really just operate with a very, you know, ethical moral compass so that we can be able to provide the quality services with integrity. Let's see. And then some of the entry-level jobs and internships that we provide or that we have at our agency is habilitation, respite, and attendant care. So habilitation providers work one-on-one with the clients on their specific individual goals. That could be anywhere that works on their expressive and receptive speech, or, you know, gross and fine motor skills, anything that really can just increase their level of independence. Respite providers, I always say it's almost like, you know, it's almost like babysitting. You go into the homes of these clients and you watch them just so their parents or their legal guardians can have a little bit of rest and relief to do whatever it is that they may need to do. And then attendant care services are for our individuals who are a little bit more severe in their conditions or disorders that may need a little bit more support in feeding, mobility, dressing, and all that stuff. My general advice for students would just to take full advantage of all of the entry-level jobs and all of the internships that are out there, especially when you're in college, because from an employer perspective, I look at applicants and applications every week, and the ones that really stand out to me are the ones that do have all these experience and work experience underneath their belt. And it shows me that you are driven, you have the work ethic, and also some skills that some other applicants may not have. And we are always looking for applicants, we're always hiring, so if you have any questions, let me know, and if you're interested in working with us, let me know as well after the panel. Okay, thank you.
Hola a todos, hi everyone, my name is Cynthia. I'm with the ACLU Demand to Learn campaign. With the ACLU of Arizona, we have the advocacy and the policy legal department. And in our ACLU office, we have 2 campaigns. One is called Smart Justice, that deals with the prison industrial complex system, and that deals with mass incarceration and formerly incarcerated folks by providing them directly services, inviting them to come out to volunteer and become an advocate for bills, for example, to like legislation session. And then my campaign is Demand to Learn, and we are education equity campaign, and we deal with trying to end the school to prison pipeline. And so we have advocacy, and that we train parents to advocate for themselves and other parents that are directly impacted We deal with children that are being kicked out of schools, pushed out of schools by either denying enrollment through harsh disciplines. And we also collect all that data, and so we're putting together some report to show the policy side and the legal side. These are all the data that we're collecting in Arizona. This is what's happening, and this is why we need change. And so I am an organizer, a community organizer, and my role is to connect with people that are directly impacted. And so those are mostly, first generation families, Spanish speaking families, maybe parents that have children with disabilities and they need those resources, right? And so they're not always easy to find. And so our job is to, try to find those parents and provide them with the resources, empower them, build up their leadership, and have them also advocate and be, a model for other parents to get involved. What's rewarding of being with the ACLU is that we have, national recognition. We are on the news a lot. We're like suing Trump and all of this. And so we do get along with organizations, and we do kind of take advantage of that. We're trying to build a genuine trust with other organizations, partner organizations, and build relationships. How do we help each other? Because ACLU can't provide all the services, and so we do gotta reach out to other organizations in Phoenix, in Arizona. It also gives me an opportunity to be bold and creative about where I want to take this campaign. And so me being a first generation daughter of immigrants, I grew up in the South Side, and so I kind of experienced my friends that were Black and brown. After 8th grade, we all went our separate ways. I ended up getting a bachelor's degree in Mexican American Studies and Latin American Studies. And I still keep up with my 8th grade friends, but there's honestly more students in prisons or detentions than with their college degrees. And so this is super real, and it's really personal to me. Trying to outreach to the children that are being pushed out, and trying to encourage the parents that they could advocate and that they have a voice. And so, how do we use that? And what's challenging is that although I try to be, bold and creative, I still work within the nonprofit system. And so I'm still required, it's very data driven. I have to have 5 one-on-ones this week, but it's not really genuine. And so me as an organizer, I'm trying to push for the more genuine relationships. It's more than just data. We're trying to create transformational change, not transactional. I don't just want you to volunteer so that you could get your hours and I could get that. We had 12 volunteers this week. And so it's the challenge of, trying to be genuine and real. And also we're a 100-year-old organization. And so some principles are problematic now. And so it's how do we deal with the old-time ACLU supporters, and they don't want to see change. Because we started off by protecting all the civil liberties of all, and now we see that we are more into protecting those that are directly impacted by the system and who are mostly oppressed. And so we take a lot of volunteers. Our campaigns, both of the campaigns, have a strong volunteer membership. We meet monthly. We have working committees, and it's from middle schools, high schools, parents who come and volunteer with us. So it's super great. It doesn't matter your age limit or your experience. And we also have interns. We have interns for our legal department, for our communications department, and for our advocacy for either of the campaigns. And right now, our Demand to Learn campaign is looking for summer interns. This summer, we're going to put on a curriculum, maybe 6-week curriculum for youth, middle and high school youth, to get politicized and know what is organizing and understanding the current political conditions and the education system, and how do we move forward and build up leadership with these youth, because they are our future. I agree with all of the advice given, like building coalition, getting involved with different organizations, and reaching out to other orgs, definitely. And we are also hiring other organizers in Tucson, and so we're trying to build a stronger base down in Tucson. Right now, Tucson only has a attorney for the ACLU, and so we're trying to get more presence there. They're really badass down in Tucson, and so we're trying to, move all of Arizona, yeah. And so I'm gonna just end by inviting you all to, get involved, come up to me afterwards, get more information. We are having an event at the end of this month. On Monday, March 25th at the Salvation Army on 16th Street and Broadway. We're gonna be having a Know Your Rights presentation on enrollment. And we're gonna also present an enrollment report that has really crazy data of charter schools and public schools that are denying students. And so we're gonna be talking about why are they denying, what are the common threads, and then what are your legal rights as a parent. And most parents do not know that their rights are being violated. And so it's super important to spread the word. It's also gonna be available in Spanish. And so we're trying to reach all peoples. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll be happy to take questions for the panelists, and then you guys can come up to the panelists as well. We still have a bit of time if you guys want to speak with them individually and get a network as well. Does anyone have any questions?
So I know Marcella had mentioned that you don't work directly in direct service with individuals, and in a lot of my previous work, particularly with volunteer coordination or doing more admin things, I miss doing the kind of having some of the engagement with the people we're supposed to be directly serving. And so I was wondering if you guys have felt that same way and how you try addressing it within the current role you're in to make sure you're always remembering the mission, but more than that, even just those individual people you're supposed to be helping.
So one thing that we do at Fresh Start that's pretty new for our staff to get involved and do is we share stories constantly. So anytime there's an exciting moment at our front desk, it goes out to the whole team. Anytime that we have a celebration of a program, it goes out to the whole team. So we're all invited to take part in that. And then I personally do our outreach events also, so that helps me stay connected because I'm interacting with the people who can directly benefit from our services. But it is hard.
I mean, I would say for me, I had to get accustomed to, I only had one goal from the outset, and so the bigger picture is I don't do the frontline direct work. I'm not the best equipped person to do the direct work, and knowing that there are now 38 people doing that direct work means that ultimately the ultimate goal is happening on a far larger scale than my direct involvement in it. But communication is the same, and we have endless, but Slack is really good for it. So I will follow all of our Slack channels, and that will be what I tend to kind of do in the evenings and just kind of see what's been happening. But I did have one semester where I just, for one reason or other, really went out to the program very rarely, and it affects your energy, I think. So I think just to remember to kind of, and that we should be taking funders out to the program anyway, so you can usually find ways to make it work. But I think you got to know what your skills are and how, so sort of take the, just think bigger picture, right? And take your skills and how they should best be applied. Mine are definitely not in the classroom. I'm not good at it.
Yes.
For Marcella, so what does the Women Resource Center entail, exactly?
Oh, such a good question. So Fresh Start, we serve about 5,000 women a year. We serve any woman over 18, and we have a building on 11th Street in McDowell where women can come in and take workshops for her career goals, personal goals, computer literacy, financial literacy, and family and parenting classes. Oh, I lost my pen. We also have social workers, we have family law support services, we have mentoring and scholarships, as well as a program to take women from a minimum wage job to a self-sufficient income. We're getting women in a program so that they can get an apprenticeship and start making upwards of $25 per hour. So basically our biggest goal is to get women from where they are to where they want to be, whether that's a job or family law support or yoga classes. Or clothes. I bought this shirt at our resale boutique. It was $2. Anybody can come shop.
Question in the back.
This is a general question for anyone. For somebody who cannot volunteer because they work full-time due to mortgage and bills and family and such like that, how do you suggest how to, let's say, if I want to apply for a job but I can't? Well, I can, but I don't have the credentials as far as volunteering and stuff like that.
I mean, our jobs aren't all non-profit jobs at all. So the data position that we're hiring is a non-profit job. The fundraising coordinator sounds like a non-profit job. I'm not looking for a non-profit experience in that. I'm looking for people who actually, because we don't tend to do stuff the way that it's always been done. And so I actually have a preference for someone who hasn't fundraised. I'd never fundraised before. So I wouldn't I think someone said very articulately, your skills are not necessarily your experience, right? So if you're able to articulate what your skills are, then those skills can be transferable. And a lot of us who are trying to do disruption work have a preference for people who are willing to be flexible, to address change, to do things differently. So I wouldn't let that hold you back from applying, for sure. And then also depending on how flexible your work hours are, our program runs after school, so we actually do have people who work full-time and who do paid part-time positions around their full-time work schedule. So that's just us.
I know for us, every time we do presentations about individuals, we always tell them volunteer, donate, or educate yourself. But most importantly, just educating yourself, whatever it may be that you want to do. I know for us, just educating yourself on the immigration process, on the myths, on what the facts are, so you can spread those to other individuals. So just the fact that you're informed about a certain issue, I mean, you can talk to somebody about it, or you can defend yourself about it with somebody else. It comes a long way. For whatever your ideology might be.
Other questions? Yes.
For those of you who said you didn't have job openings but are accepting interns, do you only accept students as interns or people who have graduated as well? If you're still looking to get experience but these organizations don't have job openings.
So we accept people who have already graduated. We actually have one woman right now who's interning with us who comes from the Dominican Republic, and she recently moved here and she's looking to get some work experience while she applies for jobs. So she's been with us she was only going to stay for a semester, and now she's here for the long haul, and she's amazing. So yeah, we take anyway, especially because our internships are non-paid, so we have that flexibility.
I would say the same thing. We would definitely take both, and we have a pretty good history of being able to transition people into careers, whether it's not with us, with someone else, in partner organizations, because again, it has to be mutually beneficial, and so that's part of the responsibility that I take on as a leader, is to make connections, build bridges, help expand the network, and then write letters, and and I think that if it's not a fit with our organization, then we always know someone. We're always happy to promote good people in good work. So.
And for the ACLU, we not only take students, and so we also have parents who are with us.
Any other questions? One more. Yes.
Me?
Yeah.
For Cynthia, so for the demand to learn advocacy, is it mostly like involve like social movements, or is it any like litigation right now happening, or?
It's both, yeah. So we do have advocacy, which is organizing, showing up to charter boards, mobilizing people, and then the policy, which is litigation.
Okay.
Yeah, we are in the process. We just recently sued a charter school, Great Hearts of America, but we got dismissed. And so we're fighting back to explaining why we got dismissed. And so we're breaking down the charter board system and how it's, complex and corrupt because we cannot hold them accountable. And so, yeah, it helps us with our advocacy. And then advocacy helps us with our legal. Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Was there another question in the back? Yes.
I have a question for Cynthia as well. I actually looked for the internship opportunities on the ACLU Arizona, Phoenix website, and I saw like legal intake, outtake interns, but I didn't see like advocacy intern like you said, and I wanted to know like what, like you said, they're organizing and they're mobilizing people, but I wanted to know more. Like I wanted to go in social work eventually, and I was looking into being a legal intake intern. But now that you mentioned that there's an advocacy intern, it sounds really interesting, and I kind of want to know more about it. Can you expand on that a little bit?
Yeah. So it might not be on our website because it is new.
Okay.
Yeah, and so I'll talk to my team to get that on the website because we are accepting summer interns. Right now we have 3 interns that are with Demand to Learn, and they all do different things. And so we have one person that is doing intakes, and so she's working closely with the legal team but with the advocacy team, and she's compiling all of the cases we've received and giving updates on how to move forward with the family, what resources we could provide with them. And then we have someone who is doing is helping with data, and so she's helping with the school-based arrest. She's looking at specific charters and public schools that have school resource officers or who have records that they've arrested, a student in school or around a school, high school. And then we have someone that is doing outreach and advocacy, and so she's helping us with planning events, going to like after school events to talk to parents. She helps us with finding events to table at, and so it's more engaging with who we want to be, advocates for our campaign. But since, if you are interested and it's not on the website, reach out to me.
Okay.
Yeah,
So-
so we just want to thank each of the panelists. We are just so happy that you came to talk to our students, and we appreciate it a lot, and they do too. So thank you so much.